What's going on, YouTube? It's your favorite Flat Earth auntie, Auntie Tatiana. And today I'm doing things a little bit differently. Instead of, me being on camera, I'm going to talk behind the scenes to help, get my point across because this video is not about me. It's about the information. Correct? Correct. Okay. So like I was saying, this is going to be the part 3 in my Limitless Mind series. This book is about remote viewing for those of you that don't already know. And the author is Russell Targ. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to be talking about chapter 2 today, which is covering what remote viewing is. And I'm telling you guys, this chapter was the juiciest, so get ready for this. Let's go ahead and introduce these two. On the left, we have Russell Targ, who is the author, and on the right, we have Hal Puthoff. Let me show you another picture. This is literally Russell Targ right now. Isn't he so cute? Oh my gosh. Okay, so moving on. In 1972, they started a psychic research program at Stanford Research Institution. That is what you see right there in the background. That is the building. And if you look at this thing that I'm pointing to right there, doesn't that look very similar to the Hyperborea map? I'm telling you guys, the truth is in plain sight. They all know it. They're just hiding it from you. That's the North Pole where the vortex is. Okay, so real quick, here's an interesting fact. So this picture is actually showing you Stanford University, which is responsible for founding the Stanford Research Institute. Okay, but this university is located in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is like a super high-tech area that has major corporations like Google, Uber, Meta, Apple, and even a NASA research center. So just let that sink in. But not only that, they also have Palo Alto, which is a huge technology company. And there's this weird clip that I'm going to show you where they reference Palo Alto. And that just confirms to you that there's some weird, sneaky stuff going on in Silicon Valley.
You're the first to realize that I'm really not even a human being. I was constructed in a garage in Palo Alto a very long time ago. People think that, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they created. They don't even know. Oh, no. I mean, a man whose name shall remain nameless created me in his garage.
Are there more of you?
Now, I thought he threw away the plans. At least that's what he told me when he programmed me, that there would be no more. I've seen more people that kind of don't sweat and other things that make me think maybe they are part of the new race that he has created, the robot race.
Okay, moving on. So this man right here, his name is Ingo Swan, and he is a New York artist as well as a highly respected psychic. Now, I just want to show you guys some of his artwork because it was amazing. So take a look at some of these. But Ingo Swan actually helped Russell and Dr. Hal on their research. He's the one that taught them about remote viewing. So the experiments started off with them putting a laser inside of a box and asking Ingo to tell them whether the laser was on or off. They also asked him to describe pictures that were sealed in opaque envelopes and like hidden in distant rooms. And he was able to do both of those successfully, except he found it boring, like it wasn't a challenge for him. Ingo actually told them that if they didn't give him anything more interesting to do, that he would go back to New York and resume his life as a painter. Like, that's how bored he was, y'all. Basically, he was like, if I wanted to see what was in an envelope, I would just freaking open it myself. Since he was able to focus his attention anywhere in the world, these experiments were trivial to him. Like, he wanted to do something bigger. Now check out this audio clip from Ingo Swan explaining what he saw when he remote viewed the moon.
There's a lot of things I can't explain. Let's establish that. I just don't know how to explain them. But here I am on Earth, remote viewing the moon. And on the moon, I encounter some guys doing something. I don't know what they were doing. And they were looking at the place that I thought I was looking at them from. I mean, what of me was on the moon that they could look at it where I was? This doesn't quite make sense. But they weren't looking at me back on Earth. They were looking like at the place where I thought I was looking at them on the moon. And I said, well, this is a very highly developed kind of telepathy, if indeed it is telepathy, or it should be even called that. And it's just something that I can't really explain. amongst many other things I can't explain. But it indeed happened that way.
But to summarize, with Ingo Swan's help, Russell Targ and Dr. Putoff were able to teach the Army about remote viewing, and the Army ended up creating the Stargate project, which is where they recruited psychics to help them spy on the Soviet Union. All right, so eventually Russell Targ started working with Pat Price, who was a retired police commissioner and a psychic, and he is the only person that we know of that can psychically read words. So he called up Russell Targ and was like, hey, are you interested in working with me? Because, I'm that dude. I've been using my psychic ability all my life to help me in my job, catching criminals. Like, I'm the one you need on your team. Now, I'm going to talk about Pat Price in more detail a little bit later because he got his own little story. But right now, I'm going to go over the 4 areas of remote viewing, which are evaluation, location, diagnosis, and forecasting. Okay, so like I said, the first area of remote viewing is called evaluation, which is basically being able to use the left and right side of your brain simultaneously. So one side of your brain is where your intuitive information comes from, but then you have to be able to use the other side of your brain to organize and analyze that information in a way that will allow you to report it. The next area of remote viewing is location. So remote viewing has been used to find many of things of value, such as oil, hidden treasures, even missing people. Now, this is where Pat Price comes back in. Okay, so on the night of Monday, February 4th, 1974, a group of American terrorists kidnapped 19-year-old Patricia Hearst from her apartment. Okay, so the day after the kidnapping, the police were clueless. They didn't know where to start. It was such a desperate situation that the Berkeley Police Department asked for psychic guidance. So the detectives had a lot of questions that they were planning to ask. However, Pat stepped forward and asked, do you guys have a mug book of local people who were recently out of prison? They did have the book, and there were 4 mugshots on each page. Pat turned the pages after looking carefully at each picture. Then about 10 pages into the book, he put his index finger on one of the pictures and said, he's the leader. The man Pat singled out from the mug book was Donald DeFreeze. Price was also able to use his remote viewing abilities to find the abandoned getaway car. So basically, he did the police's job for them. Now I'm going to go ahead and mention here that Pat Price was actually murdered, assassinated, whatever you want to call it. He remote viewed and saw something that he wasn't supposed to see. So they ended up poisoning him, but declaring his death a heart attack. But they didn't even perform an autopsy. They just cremated him. And the crazy part is they cremated him before they even gave notice to his wife that he had passed away. So there was nothing that anyone could do about it. So I'm going to tell you guys what he actually saw when he remote viewed. So in his free time, Pat Price ended up remote viewing and he saw this mountain. This particular mountain is called Mount Hayes, but for some reason he was attracted to what was inside of the mountain. And when he zoomed in inside, he ended up seeing some type of secret base or secret laboratory. But that's not what shocked him the most. What shocked him the most is that he saw some type of humanoid alien creatures that were working busily on a project, but he couldn't figure out what exactly they were working on. But he did see that they were working alongside humans, and that was confusing to him because he was like, what are humans doing working with these creatures? And that is what ultimately got him killed. Now I'm going to share with you guys an audio clip of Ingo Swan explaining that incident.
Well, actually, I think it was Pat Price. You've heard of him, haven't you?
I've heard the name.
Yes, he was one of the early people that worked with Hal and sometimes with me. I think it was him who first enunciated the location of I put it a human extraterrestrial cooperation base, something like that. And
oh my, really?
Oh my, yes. And can you imagine the bells that started going off?
Oh, absolutely. A human extraterrestrial cooperation base.
Yes.
The location thereof.
Mm-hmm. I told Pat Price, I said, gosh, I don't think you should tell anybody about this. But,
do you know where I live?
But Pat Price was, yes, I know where you live.
You know where I live?
Was stubborn too, and he went ahead and talked about those things, even unofficially, And he had a good reputation, you know. He was a police officer. And,
Would I regard that location as a neighbor?
no.
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 Okay, moving on. So the next area of remote viewing is diagnosis.
A man named Stuart Schwalbe, who is not a doctor, will attempt to perform psychic diagnosis on patients he has never met before.
I think there has been or is a minor problem with circulation. Is that true? I guess in some way Dr. Kimbrough affects the heart, which is in good shape, I think, but has some effect on it, or it could in the future. Any allergy complaints or dust particularly bothersome to you? Pardon me?
Old,
All kinds of
no, old
old dust?
dust that has sat around too much.
Yeah.
Some of
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was old, but dusty.
Yeah.
You have one toe, trivia time. One toe that perhaps has been broken or that is out of shape. I see a toe that is irregular.
I have a broken right toe right now.
I guess a broken toe might be out of shape a little bit.
Here's the crazy part. For reasons that the author does not understand, psychic diagnosis is much easier to do than ordinary remote viewing of an object in a box. This could be because it's a more meaningful task, or perhaps the important psychic connection to another living being makes the difference. And finally, the last area of remote viewing is forecasting, which could be forecasting earthquakes, volcanic activity, political conditions, technological developments, weather conditions, interest rates, investment opportunities, anything. Okay, you guys, I hope you're still with me. We're going to move along now to what we actually know about remote viewing. So first of all, remote viewers can often contact, experience, and describe what we call a target. A target is a hidden object or a remote natural or architectural site. So when it comes to sensing the target, inexperienced viewers are able to describe a target's shape, form, and color much more reliably than they can describe the target's function or provide other analytical information. Now, when it comes to looking into the future, we've learned that viewers can sense present, past, and even future activities at target sites. There is not a drop of evidence to indicate that it is more difficult for viewers to look slightly into the future than it is to describe an object in a box in front of them, meaning it's just as easy to do both. Now, how small is small? Viewers have sensed targets and target details as small as 1 millimeter. Now, this right here is a picture of a woman named Hella Hammond. She was a frequent research subject, and she was able to successfully describe microscopic picture targets as small as 1 millimeter in square. There's also a psychic named C.W. Leadbeater, who was the first person in the world to describe the distinctive nuclear structure of the 3 isotypes of hydrogen. Isotypes had not even been discovered by chemists, you guys. That's how incredible this is. Okay, so now we're going to talk about things that could be considered inhibiting factors or things that can make the remote viewing process a little bit more difficult. Any visual or auditory distractions in the working environment tend to show up in the viewer's pictures during the remote viewing session. The nature of the target can also affect accuracy. Numbers, for example, are much more difficult to perceive than pictorial targets. For example, it is very difficult to guess a target number between 1 and 10 than it is to describe a location anywhere on the earth. This is because the viewer already has a crystal clear mental image of all the numbers, and these images from the memory and imagination constitute significant mental noise. So like I mentioned earlier, this woman is Hella Hammond, and she entered the SRI program as a control subject, but she turned out to be one of the most reliable remote viewers. She had no previous psychic experience, but she was excited about the challenge. So Dr. Putoff drove to an unknown and randomly chosen target location. Hella's job was to describe where he had gone. So Russell Targ began to speak to Hella, and he said, "Now that your eyes are closed and you're relaxed, can you tell me about your mental pictures regarding where Dr. Putoff is located?" Do not guess where he might be, I told her. Just describe what you see or what you are experiencing. I see motion, Hella said. Something is moving along fast. So then Russell Targ asked her to make a sketch of what she was seeing or whatever was moving. After that, Targ then asked Hella to take a break because taking a break is essential for successful remote viewing. It provides an opportunity to clean the mental slate so that the viewer can return to the target and obtain fresh and different information. Without an interviewer, in this case Russell Targ, a viewer tends to hold on to the first image even when it probably would not help identify the target. So then he asked Hella, stand where Hal is standing and describe what he is seeing. This is very complicated, she said. I have to make a drawing. It looks like squares within squares within squares. Then she made the third drawing, which you can see above. The target was the pedestrian overpass across the freeway. Okay, y'all, so then Russell Targ began to talk about a workshop that he was invited to where he was working with architect remote viewers. But one of the architects was having trouble getting any mental pictures. So Targ suggested that he drift up into the air and look down on the target. And with that, the architect began to sketch busily. And this is the image that he produced. So the target was the Parthenon in Greece. But the architect's picture, we see that the columns of the temple have all been laid flat, with their locations indicated by dots inside the rectangle. Remember our friend from the beginning, Ingo Swan? Well, he calls this lack of fusion. Now I'm going to show you guys 6 illustrations that show this lack of fusion effect. So as you guys can see, the sketches look really close to the target, but it's just fused in the wrong way. Okay, you guys, that was the end of chapter 2. In the next chapter, Russell Targ actually showed exercises that we could do to successfully remote view and be able to apply these psychic abilities to our daily lives. If you're interested in that one, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye.